All right. Here we are back with the best colleges series. Today we're talking about the best colleges in Washington D.C. I live in the D.C. metro area. There's a bunch of schools that I really, really like, but yes, I'm going to tell you about the popular ones that are considered to be the best in Washington D.C. Don't shoot the messenger. No, I'll take it. I love these schools. Why not? They're the best in D.C. Different schools for different kids. We're going to talk about American, Georgetown, George Washington, and Howard. No disrespect to University of District of Columbia. No respect to University of Maryland at College Park. There are a lot of great universities in and surrounding the DMV, including George Mason across the river. But right now, we're going to talk about American, Georgetown, and George Washington. All right, let's start with American. Friendship Heights. I love Friendship Heights. I think it's a really cool environment for kids to go to school in. So, again, very pretty selective, right? 41%. Usually, if it's a student has a 3.5 or above, I tend to think of a target school. But again, because they have so many different programs, early action, early decision, I sincerely hope that families will consider that. As you can see, 86% of their kids were accepted early decision, who applied, versus 39% were admitted regularly. So I think that's a very important statistics to consider. The gender balance is something I always like to look at. Again, American does not require standardized testing, but again, as I believe they're coming back out fast and furious, I need people to consider it. Admissions policies, they want recommendations. Obviously, they want an essay. They do have a supplemental essay. We'll look at that in a second. Graduation rates, very important. How long it takes most kids to graduate, and then of course the money. Where's the money at, right? This is a program that I share with families when we work with them, but I wanted to give you a quick snapshot into the best schools in Washington, D.C. that I believe, based on their academics, based on the activities, the admissions requirements, and the acceptance rates. So I've given you the admissions requirements, or at least some of them, and the admissions rates. Here we go. Let's talk about the academic programs. So the academic programs, American has a wealth of amazing bachelor's degrees. Look at all the different bachelor's degrees that they offer. You can always go to the website to learn more. They have master's program, but we're not there yet. Okay, so there's the academic programs. The FIS guide, you can always get that from Barnes and Nobles, or you can, look at it digitally, like it is right here. For those of us who are older and need more larger font, American has a lot of different things to do. Again, it's in a northwest corner of an upscale and safe area that makes just minutes from downtown. Very, very accessible campus to the city, and I am a fan. Political strongest programs are in political science, international studies, business, communication, PR, journalism, environmental studies, and the schools that they often overlap with, not surprisingly, GW and George Washington, Johns Hopkins, not too far away in Baltimore, Northeastern, and Fordham. Since we're here, let's go straight to GW. Yes, look at that. Also, pretty selective school, all right? Very expensive school. I always like highlighting things like this so parents get a full cost of attendance, very selective, what their enrollment looks like. I also want students to know, again, look at the gender imbalance, implied, admitted, enrolled. Okay, again, that may be important to you. The early decision versus regular decision statistics. If you have the financial resources to apply early decision, I always think it is strategically advantageous. Longer conversation. Do not require standardized testing, but often encourage. No, they haven't required in a while. So again, I'm not. GW is one of those schools that they've been doing this standardized non-test optional for a long time. Their admissions considerations, all right, they have an essay. Obviously, they consider other things in the process. They do not consider class rank, which I think is interesting. They do not require an interview, and they don't care what religion you are. Graduation rates are awesome. I think that's great. Financial aid, always a good thing. You can always click on this or learn more about a school's net price calculator. Each school will have it on their website for you to consider and you to learn more about how they do aid. I think that's an awesome opportunity. I also want to look at the common data set. If you haven't been watching this for a while, for each school, I didn't do it for American, I have it up here. Each school has something that if you just Google common data set, will give you a wealth of information about institutional things that the school is doing from a data standpoint. Their enrollment, how many people graduating with certain degrees, um, uh, uh, where students are oftentimes, going after graduation, how much money that they get in Pell Grants. Common data set is what I nerd out on in order to help families to create college lists. So the common data set for George Washington is right here, but I also want to make sure we look at their academic programs. Again, academics, what you need to be looking for when you look for in a college, the academic programs, the activities, the admissions requirements, and the acceptance rates. All right. GW again has a wealth of amazing opportunities academically. Great business school. I actually know several very successful people in business who went to GW, and I'm a big fan. So that also George Washington is right in the center of the city. There's two campuses, but I think we're going to primarily think about the one in Foggy Bottom, not too far from Georgetown. We'll talk about them in a second. But again, 96% of undergraduates come from outside of DC. I think that's very interesting. Okay. I think it's very important that you understand, parents and students, what students are doing in the neighboring towns when they're 18 to 22. And George Washington, being in Metro DC, has a beautiful campus, but it's very urban. There isn't a lot of green space, but I do believe it's a campus community. So about Georgetown. As you know, Georgetown is a highly selective school, 12% admit rate. When I worked there 20 years ago, we were probably around 20% admit rate. So to know that it's dropped so much means that great students are applying, always have, but also that the applications are becoming more, the volume is greater, but also applications are getting stronger as there have been institutional priorities met. Students applied versus students admitted. Georgetown does not do early decision. They do something called single choice early action, isn't officially how they term it. That's how the Ivies term it. But they do not allow you to apply early decision and early action at the same time. Totally separate conversation. Their regular decision numbers are what they're choosing to show, their data. And they do require standardized testing, definitely, something that they prefer. And yeah, Georgetown's Georgetown. And I see 12% admit rate. I'm always like, oof, oi. The information, their programs are tremendous. There was something I just saw on the previous page, actually, I wanted to go back to because I want to make sure we look at the financials. They are not on the common application, right? So 1,000 common have a whole common application key up here. About 1,000 schools are on the Common App. Georgetown is not one of them. Amazing graduation rates because students are so serious. They traditionally, have had decent financial aid. That's something that you always want to make sure that you're considering. Similar to GW, you want to click the net price calculator. All right, so let's look at their academic programs. What are we looking at here? All right. Again, lots of different programs. Foreign language. I love their Faculty of Language and Linguistics. I also think that they do a great job with their International Studies School, Foreign Service, School of Business, things of that nature. All right, so Georgetown, I think we get the gist. It is a very selective school. Great. There's a lot to learn. If you come to DC to visit, you can visit Georgetown, Howard, American, and GW. And let's finish strong with Howard University. Home of Alpha Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Love it. All right. Howard, 52% admit rate. Again, I think this is actually, I want to say between 35 and 50. It's 52 published now, but I was actually recently there. My son's taking classes there in fall of 2024 is where we are now. So I'm actually did some recent research on there. Cost of attendance significantly less than Georgetown. And one misconception about HBCUs is that they're only for black kids. I've gone to Howard many times and I've seen Asian kids, Indian kids, Latinx kids, and even white kids. So again, understand that HBCUs were not founded to be exclusive. They are rooted in diversity. Black people are not a monolith, and they do attend. But we must not allow HBCUs to not think other people can apply. All right, very, very important. The academic programs at Howard, let's go back. Let's look at their admission rates. Students apply, student enrolled. There are more women than men. How many they have early decision, 47%, early action, and regular decision. Standardized testing is, again, encouraged. It's not required, but often encouraged. Admissions policies, graduation rates are awesome. That's usually a concern for some people at HBCUs for a variety of reasons. There's oftentimes attrition at HBCUs. Howard has a great graduation and retention rate. Financial aid is, not it's an issue. I'm not going to pretend that it is as well funded as a Georgetown or a George Washington, American for that matter. So you always want to understand how financial aid works at any school in order before your kid actually enrolls or even applies for that matter. The programs are communications, business, you know, liberal arts. Again, amazing institution for a variety of reasons. Howard University Hospital right there, right in the heart in Northwest DC, up on Georgia Avenue. So again, opportunities to really get engaged with the city in a variety of ways. And again, I nerd out on things like the common data set, which again is open to anybody who wants to learn more about the school. Just Google Howard University, Georgetown University, George Washington University, American University, common data set. Just put American common data set and you'll be able to see what the school's publishing in regards to admission and enrollment and the data that they use. My thing might not be yours. All right. So thank you to the best colleges in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining me. I enjoyed this. So hopefully that you're enjoying it too. Just want to share with you what I know about these different schools. Thanks.